This hearing is a tow hearing. On the hearing letter, it pretty much detailed the reason why we're here. And the purpose of this hearing is to determine whether probable cause existed to tow or boot this vehicle that we have in question, which is a Dodge Charger owned by you, Ms. Rivera. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to give you, Ms. Rivera, the opportunity to speak first. It's going to be up to you to provide proof to me that your vehicle shouldn't have been towed by Rapid Recovery. And also, it's up to you to provide proof that DTI Apartments did not do what they were legally supposed to do, which is to ensure that signage and everything was up and displayed in accordance with the laws of the state of Texas. Now, while you're speaking, Ms. Rivera, I'm going to ask that the defendants in today's case, Rapid Recovery and DTI, refrain from interrupting the plaintiff, Ms. Rivera. All right?
Okay.
Okay. And I'm speaking to Ms. Klein and the
Oh,
TI.
sorry.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand.
All right. Now, whenever you're through, Ms. Rivera, whenever you're through presenting your case, then I will consider you to be at rest. And then afterwards, I will give the plaintiffs the opportunity to defend themselves. This is nothing new to you. You've been here before to defending yourself in regards to claims of an improper tow. And while you're speaking, Ms. Klein and or the representatives from DTI, I am going to ask that you, Ms. Rivera, do not interrupt them so that I can ensure everything that they are saying is heard without any interruptions. Okay, Ms. Rivera?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, before we get started in this hearing, I have not received any additional documentation from you, Ms. Rivera, outside of the petition. Do you have any supporting documents that you plan on using in today's hearing that I have not received?
Yes, sir. I brought the receipt that states rapid recovery, and it has like the I guess it's the receipt. I gave it to your lady on the front desk. She made a copy of it.
I have the receipt
Okay.
from the
The
receipt from
only
Reparation.
Yes, sir. The only thing I didn't get to provide to you was the Brazos Apartments card, which has their address on it.
Okay, okay. Well, that's something that the defendants have as well. And the purpose of me asking this question is
Uh-huh.
to make sure, is the purpose of me asking these questions is to make sure that there's no surprises in today's hearing. I want to make sure that both parties had the opportunity to review any documents that were submitted to the court in this particular case. So that's the reason why I asked you that question. And now I'm going to move on to the defendant before you get started. I did
Okay.
receive several documents, and I can assume these came from the defendants in today's case. These were pictures as well as the receipt. Uh, is that what you filed, Ms. Klein?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me see. It was a 28-page document as far as like the receipt, the photos, all of that. And then there was a 37-page document of a sample lease or a blank lease that I submitted. And then I did submit that to the plaintiff as well.
Okay. All
Only
right.
thing that I did not include in the plaintiff's packet is I did take out our contract, which I can screen share the contract. We just don't like to we don't want, I mean, if I email it to somebody, they can just print it off and then you got a million copies out of nowhere. So I have no problem screen sharing and showing the plaintiff our contract if that's needed.
Okay. I do have the agreement for removal of unauthorized vehicles. I do have that. That's something you did submit dated April 2nd, 2019.
Yes, Your Honor, I did submit it to you. I just did not submit it to the plaintiff.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Like I said, I'm more than happy to share my screen and show that to the plaintiff if needed. We just we don't normally send out our contract to anybody unless it's an apartment manager, or to you guys, of course.
Okay.
At
Well, I do
first,
have.
this might sound like a simple dispute over a towing fee, but the real legal question is much narrower. The judge isn't deciding who was treated fairly, he's deciding whether the tow was legally justified. That means small details like parking rules, warning signs, and proper procedures could end up deciding the entire
course.
case.
Okay. Well, I do have that, and I do have the standard lease. It's a TA lease that the tenant and the apartment complex agreed to. Okay, so I have anything else outside of those documents that you plan on using in your defense?
I know that Miss Rivera did submit for a damage claim, so I just wanted to verify that this here is just for the tow in itself and not for any damages, correct? That's a separate hearing.
The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether probable cause existed for this vehicle to be towed. This is not a small claims hearing in
Sure.
as it pertains to damages. And let me make sure that we're all on the same page. Ms. Rivera, you filed this hearing. This is a tow hearing, not
Correct.
a claims hearing. So do you have a separate suit that you filed in my court?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, all right, okay. And so without further ado, I just want to make sure these documents that you submitted to me, Ms. Klein, not the contract, but the other documents that you submitted to me, you did send to the plaintiff as well. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I did ask the court clerk, and when she emailed me back letting me know that she had received the document, she sent me Miss Rivera's email, and I emailed her right then.
All right, okay. Well, that's all I need to know from that part. So everything is transparent. Ms. Rivera, did you receive these documents that Ms. Klein submitted to the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And when did you receive these documents, Ms. Rivera?
I received them. I can't go back on my phone and look. Maybe last week sometimes.
So you had time to review them?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, okay, so no undue surprises. So with that being said, Ms. Rivera, tell me why you feel like your vehicle shouldn't have been towed. Go ahead.
So I do understand why I was told. But my part I don't understand is on this receipt that was given to me from the guy by the name of G, not quite sure who that is. He failed to put his information on here, as far as his name. He just put G. And so another thing was he put that the address is 1600 North MLK. I'm not quite sure what address that is. When I looked it up on my GPS, it popped up an empty parking lot. So I went to the Brazos Park Apartments to verify their address, which is their address is 1800 North Martin Luther King Boulevard. So that was a lot of my concerns of actually what he filled out on my paperwork as far as legal document.
So you're looking at the receipt. So you're okay. The receipt does say the address and location where the vehicle was towed. It does say 1600 instead of 1800.
That is correct.
So it was more confusion on your end.
That is right. Yes, sir. Because when I looked up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, it was confusion as to where it was towed from.
Correct.
But you know that it was towed from 1800 MLK because is that where you reside?
That's where, yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. But you're not disputing why it was towed.
That is correct. I'm not disputing why it was towed, but I am disputing to why the locations and him not the guy not giving me his name on the legal documents. On the state of Texas, you're supposed to provide those things.
Tell me what statute are you referring to? Have you looked that
To
up?
I looked it up on the internet because I was confused to why the vehicle released by it says just the letter G. And so when I called the place to talk to I forget. I think her name was Marissa. I'm not quite sure what the lady's name was for Rapid Recovery. She just stated that there was nobody by the name G that worked there. And so I was like, well, I'm just trying to figure out who this person is because I asked the guy that day, like, can I get your name? And he was like, no. And so that was one of my things to who was actually towing my car and where did it actually get picked up from or where did it go?
Hmm. So G,
Yes, sir.
I can understand your concern. Your vehicle was towed. Um, you don't know who towed it, and
Correct.
there's G that works for Rapid Recovery. So what you're saying
Correct.
is anybody could have towed the vehicle.
That is
That
correct, sir.
but that person could not have made. There's a possibility that the person that towed your vehicle wasn't employed by Rapid Recovery.
That is correct. And when I asked, for information, he wouldn't give me anything. He was just snapping back at me. So I just gave up and I called that Monday to talk to a manager, which is I never got in contact with. A manager never gave me a call
Hmm.
just to figure out who their employee by the name G was. So that was one of my main concerns. Like, I don't know who towed my vehicle. I'm not quite sure where they took it or if they even know where they picked it up from. So all of it was just not handled correctly.
So when when did you discover your vehicle missing?
I discovered it at about, so I called him, I think it was 11:45 p.m. on the 9th. So he told me that I had to wait until 12:45 a.m., which made it the January 10th is when he can release my vehicle. So I guess I didn't discover it until maybe a couple minutes later when I was getting ready to go. But he told me I had to wait an hour to pick it up, which is I understand. So I waited an hour and then I went to their site to pick my vehicle up.
So you said you actually this guy G.
Yes, sir. I spoke to
Now
G
we're
on the phone.
hearing the towing company's side of the story. They argue the vehicle was parked in a resident only space without the required permit and point to photos, signs, and the apartment's parking policy as evidence. The plaintiff, however, believes mistakes on the paperwork and confusion over the driver's identity raise serious concerns. The judge now has to decide whether those issues actually make the
Yes,
tow
sir. I
unlawful.
spoke to G on the phone and I spoke to G in person.
So how did you tell me, okay, so your vehicle was parked. Are you a tenant over here at this apartment complex?
No, sir.
Okay, you were visiting
I was
someone.
visiting.
Okay, you were
Yes,
visiting
sir.
someone, and how long were you visiting this friend at the apartment complex before you realized your
I
car was?
was there I was there for about 2 hours. And then when I came outside, that's when I realized my vehicle was gone. But looking at this paperwork, he put time cleared at 11:10 p.m. And so when I called him, it was already like 11:30. And so he stated I had it to wait until 12:45 a.m. to pick my vehicle up.
Okay, so you how did you know to get in contact with G?
I just called the towing companies. The apartments, I didn't see any signs that stated if your car gets towed, where to call. So I just looked them up and I found a towing place that was close nearby because I live in that area. So I knew that one was on the corner. So I called that place. That was just a lucky guess.
And then that's when G answered the phone.
Correct.
He didn't give his first name or nothing. He just said G.
He didn't give me anything. When I got there, I stated, my vehicle was destroyed. If there's any way that I could speak to a manager, he told me I couldn't speak to anyone, that he wasn't giving me any information. So I said, okay, that's fine. So what is your name? And he said, don't worry about that. So when I got this paper from him, because you know you have to sign the receipt in order to get your vehicle from them after you give them pavement. I looked at the paperwork and I saw where it says G, and I was like, "Your name is G," and he was like, "Don't worry about it." And I was like, "Okay."
Where was your car parked at? Was it in a designated parking spot?
It wasn't in a designated. It was in a designated parking spot, but little did I know that was the residence. I had no idea that the visitor parking spot is on the other side of the building. I think it's in yellow, if I'm not mistaken, the lines.
So you didn't know it wasn't clearly marked, is what you're saying, as
Oh
to this
yes, that
spot.
is correct. It's not clearly marked. The only thing, because I went the next day to speak to one of the ladies in the front, very sweet girl. I can't think of her name, but she did come out and she showed me, and there's lines indicating. And I asked her what was the name because it has I think it's visitor, no, residents, but she told me that means it's for the like the handicap. So she went outside to explain to me everything.
So is this your first time visiting this, your friend at this apartment complex?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this was at nighttime.
That is correct.
Anything else before I move on to the defendants?
No, sir.
All right. And so I assume Ms. Klein, are you going to speak on behalf of the defendants, or is Ms. Wheathorn, are you going to speak as well?
We can both speak.
Okay,
can-
so go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. So I screen share. Hold on. It's gonna have me open my settings. I don't know how to move these. We'll just start with this. So this is our invoice. So as the plaintiff has spoken, G. Okay, here we go. So G, our driver does go by G. There's multiple different things that we list on our invoices to identify the driver. So the driver's full name as well as their TDLR license. So if Miss Rivera was really did want to know who towed the license, TDLR does have a license lookup where she could have looked up the license and got the full name of the driver. This driver does go by G and he doesn't use his full name. So we let him write his full name on there. As far as I know the plaintiff spoke that she wasn't allowed to come pick up her vehicle until 12:45, and she stated she called at 11:30. I can't testify to say whether or not she did call at 11:30 or not. It could have been any time in between then, but we do set up appointments by 1 hour notice. So if she called at 11:30, they talked until 11:45, 11:40, something in that range. The driver, it is a common thing for our driver to set up an hour notice, especially if they're out in the field and they're not currently at the office. Let me. So she also stated that she did not know who to call. Our number, we do have signs at the entrance and exits of the property with our phone number on them. So these documents are just showing who we released the vehicle to. We did not release the vehicle to the plaintiff. It was somebody else. They paid cash. Here's pictures of our signs. So you can see that there are signs at the entrance of the property. They're also labeled with our phone number and letting them know that unauthorized vehicles will be towed. So there's another one, and another one. And these are the photos of her vehicle. Yes, Ms. Rivera already admitted that she did not, she understands why she was towed, but just to show why it was towed again. So this property has tangible permits, and in their parking policy, this is in the lease, page 25, it states, visitors must park in visitor parking, which is marked accordingly. Bradley's Park does not regulate fire lanes, and so on. So this is something that the tenants would have signed whenever they sign their lease. because this is part of the lease that was submitted to me as a blank lease. And so it is the tenant's responsibility to let their visitors know they must park in visitor parking. And then if they do park in tenant parking, they do have to have a parking permit as per the parking policy in their lease. And then I just wanted to show you guys the pictures. There is not a parking permit on this vehicle. That's why we towed the vehicle. As far as you can see, there's damage. We get pictures all the way around to try to get as much pictures of damage as possible. And the vehicle was dollied from the rear. So here you can see this was kind of cut off in one of those pictures, but this is not a parking permit. And then up here, you have photos of the rest of the windshield. You can see there's no parking permits in these areas, as well as up here. I believe this is a oil change sticker. As far as, I mean, do believe we did have probable cause for the tow. I don't think that's a question here, considering that there was not a parking permit and it was parked in visitors, or not visitors, residential parking. And then we are contracted to for Brazos Park. As far as the typo on the invoice, I mean, I can talk to my driver like that, but it's not hard to make a typo, especially if that's kind of in the area. I'm not from Waco, so I can't testify that 1600 North MLK or 1800 MLK. I mean, to me, that would seem like it's the same area. But I'm not from Waco, so I honestly can't testify where any of this is, honestly. And then, I mean, honestly, I think that's all I have is that I do believe we had probable cause to tow the vehicle because there was no parking permit on the vehicle and because the vehicle was not parked in visitors as per.
Let's start there, because how can, if someone is coming there late at nighttime or whatever, or even anytime during the daytime, you see the signage there, and based on these images here,
Oh, thank you.
it's clear that there is parking that is actually visible to anyone in all white, regardless if it's nighttime or day. Says visitor parking. Okay. Miss Rivera, anything else?
No, sir. So, but about the address thing, sorry, we're just gonna look over that because that is like 2 lots down. It's not in the same spot.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, Miss Rivera, but you and I know that your vehicle was towed from Brazos Park Apartments. That is at 1800. Your car wasn't at 1600. We know that. So far as him making a typo on the paper,
Correct.
that's not helping your case. If your reason for filing this case because he did not put the right address of where the vehicle was towed, if that's your reason, then that's not a good enough reason to file this case. What I'm looking for,
Okay, and nor would Tim give me his correct information.
the fact that an employee from Rapid Recovery towed your vehicle is all I need to know. And that's all you needed to know, because the signage was there clearly across the parking lot as you drove in and so forth. And your friend should have told you that you have to park in visitor parking. So it's not on the apartment complex, nor is it on Rapid Recovery. That's on your friend. See, here's the thing. My daughter stays in Houston, and they have the same issue at her apartment complex. And every time I go down to visit her, guess what I have to do? I have to register my vehicle every time, even though it's my daughter's house, to make sure it doesn't get towed. Or make sure I park in visitor parking, because I know that it may get towed. But prior to doing that, Guess what my daughter told me? Daddy, you better register your vehicle. Daddy, you need to park in this parking spot. It's on your friend. Your friend needs to
Yes,
reimburse.
sir.
All right. That's who that is. You went to visit somebody and they didn't tell
Okay.
you that's on your friend in regards to the tow. Now, we're not going to get into that other hearing in regards to the damages. That's a totally separate suit. That's something that you need to make sure that you prepare for
Correct.
before. And so I'm just letting you know, and this is both parties. And Ms. Weedhorn, you won't be involved in this other suit. So you can disregard anything that I'm saying. For your other hearing, make sure I have all of your evidence beforehand. Okay? That's what I
Okay.
can tell you.
Will do.
Now, to you, Ms. Weedhorn, the reason why you're here is because you have a contract with Rapid Recovery. And in the event that Rapid Recovery does not comply with the law in towing a vehicle, both of you are going to be responsible because you and them have an agreement.
In my contract, it states that we're not liable for anything that Rapid Recovery does, in the bottom of that contract.
That has nothing to do with the law.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's as far as that civil suit.
Okay.
But in regards to the towing of the vehicle, it's the law states that the owner of the property has to make sure that signage is up, has to make sure that all of the laws are complied to when it pertains to a tow, not Rapid Recovery. And that's where a lot of apartment complex feel like they shouldn't be responsible because Rapid Recovery does it. If you go out, if someone you contract with comes onto your property, and if they were to let's say that you have a contract with a lawn company, and that lawn company comes onto the property and they hit a rock, and that rock hits a vehicle and breaks out the glass, guess who they're going to sue? You. Same thing with this contract you have Rapid Recovery. And so if you don't want to be here, you may want to negotiate your contract with Rapid Recovery and find somewhere else, find another company to
In the end, the judge ruled that the tow was legal because the evidence showed the vehicle was parked in the wrong area and the required warning signs were in place. While the paperwork may have contained minor errors, the court found they weren't enough to invalidate the tow. The judge also reminded everyone that questions about vehicle damage would be handled in a separate case. If you enjoyed this courtroom breakdown, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more real courtroom drama and legal analysis.